and I thought I would do this little video because it reminded me of something I've always been taught whilst marketing online. Let me just take you back to a few weeks ago. I came home to find that the house had been broken into and that all my things had been stolen, had been burgled. My cameras, my laptop, you know, all the stuff that I use every day in my business and for pleasure. So I was faced with a decision of having to, obviously I wasn't expecting this kind of an outlay at this point in the month, so I had to be quite creative in finding a way of getting most of it back as quickly as possible, basically going out buying some more equipment. Now, the title of this video goes something like, don't bother trying to upsell me if you haven't bothered to know me. I'll explain what that means. Basically, when I went into this high street retailer to try and acquire a laptop, basically the woman was, the sales assistant was basically just trying to upsell me on everything, was trying to, you know, get me to, oh, would you like this, would you like that? You know, now obviously that's kind of runs parallel with the whole kind of home-based business thing and sort of your opportunity or your business or whatever. The old adage about just because you're excited about something or it makes sense to you doesn't necessarily mean to say that it makes sense to the other person or that's their main priority. But you see, so what she was doing was the kind of the classic thing that people used to do online, which was trying to upsell you before you've made the initial purchase, which is a kind of technique that you see or used to see quite a lot online, where you'd go to buy that first initial product and between clicking on the pay button and getting to the order form, you'd have about 3 or 4 pop-ups asking you to buy something else for more money. You know, fine, it worked very well for a lot of people. It probably still does work quite well for a lot of people, but the problem being is that if you do it too much or you've got too many pop-ups coming up or too many upsells, you risk that original sale because people think, oh, do you know what, forget it. So, you know, a few smart marketers came up with the risk-free upsell. The risk-free upsell is that where you come along to the website and you click on that little thing that you want, you go straight to the payment page, no interruptions, and then once you've paid on the thank you page, then you start getting your upsells and all the rest of it, side sales, whatever. But the point being that original sale has been protected. You haven't put the person off. But so often on the high street, in this case, you go into a shop, as I did, to buy a new computer. They're trying to sell you before you've even bought the first thing. Now, a lot of the stuff she was saying made a lot of sense. It was like, well, you buy it now for half price. Sorry, if you buy it now, you'll get it for like a half price or a third of the price that you would do if you bought it by itself or later on. Now, that makes sense. That would make sense to me saying that, but what she didn't realise was that I had a certain amount of budget that I wanted to put towards this computer, and there was other things that I wanted to get as well with the same budget. So by randomly going over by £100 or £70 or whatever, that was going to impact something else I wanted to get further down the line. The other thing was that this wasn't my first choice, it wasn't my preferred choice, but I would have gone somewhere a bit more kind of online, a bit more computer savvy, where I would get a better deal. But basically, I'd come there because she didn't bother to know that I'd already looked online and I'd gone there for a reason. It wasn't my first choice, but I'd gone there for a reason. One, because I didn't want to be upsold and have to come back the following day, so I wanted to buy it that day. And two, because it had a good selection, and I needed to get something relatively cheap with the spec that I wanted, so I could then get everything else. So those were the two things. I'd actually, come there. I hadn't just walked off the street not knowing what the hell I wanted. I'd actually done research first and gone there specifically for a reason. So for her blindly trying to upsell me might make complete sense to her, what she's saying. You get it now, you pay less money. But to me, I'd gone there for a reason, and that place, that computer place, only fitted my reason without all the upsells and everything else. So that being said, it's kind of, you've got to kind of really ask yourself in terms of when you're upselling people. Obviously, it's harder to sort of get to know them sort of online, but in a network environment or in a sort of direct sales environment, you've got to ask yourself, are you actually kind of just going for the upsell before they bought the whole thing, or before they bought the initial thing, or are you letting them to, pay for it first, and then kind of hitting them with your other offers? It's kind of, what sort of business model, what sort of pattern are you using in your business? I mean, so how do you do that in a networking environment? Well, I already said that I hadn't just come off the street. I've done some research online and earmarked that high street store because it fitted certain needs. So, the best thing to do, obviously, is to kind of ask questions, not necessarily like kind of, oh, what computer were you looking for? How big hard drive space were you looking for? That stuff is all there to be seen, but asking questions like, what led you to this store? Have you looked online? Have you done any sort of research into what it is you're actually asking? And then go off on those sort of line of questioning, and to try and dig out their actual why they came physically to that store, or did they just walk off the street with no preconceived conceptions? But you need to know that, and that will kind of help you to sort of get better results. And just listen. Some of these people, especially if they're married, they probably haven't been listened to in about 20 years. So if you let them talk, they'll tell you subconsciously what it is they want, as long as they need, as long as you actually bother to listen. So, I just thought I'd do this video because it was kind of that whole situation fitted quite well with what I've been sort of told in the past about sort of just marketing and selling, and that was a real situation where the woman was just trying to upsell me without sort of really knowing why I'd came to that store, why I came to that, and that's key, why I'd come to that store, as opposed to walking a few doors down and going into the other store. Because you've got to know as to whether that person's just browsing and thought they'd just walk in and have a look, or as to whether they've done prior research and come there for a particular reason. Because then you're not gonna, if you listen and hear what they've got to say, you're not gonna bore the shit out of them and hit them with the wrong stuff. Tell them about all the upsells and all the antivirus software that you can get for cheaper. Do that after they've made the sale. That way you don't risk the sale. Because at the end of the day, nobody likes that whole kind of thing where you go into a store, sometimes you just want to browse and the salesperson comes over like this. Can I help you, sir? Yeah, I'm just trying to browse, thank you. Just seeing what you've got. What sort of thing are you looking for, sir? you know, that's sort of like them thinking you're coming into their store to rob their sort of stuff. But hey, so I hope that was helpful. I just thought I'd do that video for you, and I shall speak to you on the next video. All the best.